Okay, guys. So today I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to talk about fan fiction the whole time. There's a reason for that too. It's kind of just because I want to. But the bigger, more important reason that it has to do with NaNoWriMo at all is that now I have all of these followers and I feel kind of bad that I have so many followers and I don't actually have anything for them to read. And although I've hinted at the fact that I write fan fiction and all of that nonsense, I know that there are reasons that most people aren't reading it. Number one, a lot of people think that fan fiction is stupid or just loaded with sex. Number two, you're probably intimidated by the fact that you don't know the fandom that I write for, which is Naruto. And number three, I have 51 works, and I can understand that you probably just don't have any idea where to start, so I'm going to help you out. Also to explain, this is my Konoha issue ninja headband. I'm wearing it in the style that Hinata wears it, which is around her neck. And this is my goofy piece of flair for the day. Okay, so, yeah, so what I'm going to do with the next set of videos is talk to you about each one of my stories. Not all 51 of them, obviously. I'm going to pick a few and describe them in terms of title length, rating, certain triggers, you know, things like alcohol and sex and rape. I don't typically touch on those things that much, but I'll explain per story. How I came up with the idea, the background information, the general plot synopsis, and what everybody else thought of the story that has already read it. So we'll go for that. The last thing I'm going to say before I end this video, which is kind of like the introductory video, is to kind of talk to you about fan fiction. So there are some myths that have to do with fan fiction, and I deal with this all the time I have a page for A Song of Ice and Fire, Game of Thrones. And there are a lot of people there who are very, very anti-fan fiction and hate it. So I'm just going to dispel a few myths for fan fiction, talk about how I got into it in the first place, that sort of thing. So I started watching Naruto in 2008, I think, when I was at college and I had nothing else to do. And then later on, when I finished the anime Naruto and I ran out of things to watch and or read for the story, I started reading fan fiction, which is something a lot of my roommates were already doing, and they gushed about it all the time. So I found my first fan fiction. It was called Loophole by Leafy Girl, because I was browsing DeviantArt.com and I found a really pretty fan art that I really liked. And in the description for that art, it was linked to the story. And I read that story until 9 o'clock in the morning, no joke. I couldn't put it down. And the only reason I put it down at all was because I literally got so tired that I passed out on my keyboard. And then I finished it as soon as I woke up. So I spent some time reading fanfiction for a while. And, you know, it doesn't take you very long to realize that it's really hard to find anything that you like to read out there. On fanfiction.net now, we're up to 368,000 stories written for Naruto. So obviously, if you're looking for something in particular, then you have a hard time sifting through it. So to perpetuate some of the myths that exist for fanfiction, most of what you're going to find out there is complete and utter garbage. No, I'm not kidding. So there's a phenomenon that is prevalent in fan fiction called yaoi. It's a Japanese term that has to do with boys' love. It is how it sounds. It is people that fantasize about the male characters all being gay and shoving them into relationships together. In more common fan fictions, you'll see this with Sherlock and Watson, the two brothers from the Boondock Saints, Naruto and Sasuke from Naruto. Let's see, what else is a good one? Robb Stark and Jon Snow. Rhaegar and Robert, for that matter. Let's see, another good one. Harry Potter and Draco. That's a big one in Harry Potter. But yeah, so on and so forth. You take two of the main characters, and simply because they were friends and they spent any time on screen together, then clearly they must be gay and want each other in a bad way. So this is most of what you will see on fanfiction.net. The other things that I do not like, that I will not read, are time travel, things that equate your fandom into a high school or a college, or they will put vampires, werewolves, demons, and fairies and zombies in there. I think it's stupid. adding things into the fandom that don't belong, like for Naruto, because it's all about ninjas. If you put guns in there, I'm out. I'm not interested. It's conversely, if you made all of the Game of Thrones characters into modern day characters with cell phones and cars, I'm out. I don't care. I read fanfiction because I like the story as it is and I want it to continue. I write fanfiction because I believe that the story is not complete and could continue. So I'm filling in for characters and plot holes that don't exist. I am actually like a unicorn in the fanfiction world in the fact that I do this, because most people will do all of these other garbagey things that you don't want to read. The people that will focus on making an actual plot in line with the actual fandom are rare. So yes, that is one of the myths of fanfiction, is that it is all awful. It's mostly true. But if you watch for a very long time and sift through pages and pages of trash, you can find some real gems. I've read some fanfictions that are way better than most of the published books that I will read. So there is that. So yeah, that's about all I'm going to say on that matter of fanfiction. So I am not one of those writers, is what I'm trying to tell you. My fanfiction is not loaded up erotica based on smashing together the main characters that clearly would never want each other. Mine are all about filling plot holes that have to do with an incomplete fandom and characters that were never developed. And it stems from my love of the fandom and wanting it to continue. So I'm trying to basically branch out on a story that already exists. So yeah, and then in my next videos I'll just tell you about a few of them if you're still interested, to give you something to read. And you don't have to be a fan of Naruto to read all of my stories. I do highly recommend it. It makes a lot more sense. But I will pick out a few of them that you do not have to have seen the anime to understand it. Except for a couple of maybe little things that I need to explain, and I'll do that beforehand with these videos. So if you are interested, I will probably pick like 5-ish and talk about them in their own separate videos, and you can just kind of click on the ones that you want. And I'll try to be real clear at the beginning of the videos, so that way if you're like, it doesn't sound like me, you can just go ahead and skip that video. So yeah, moving on. Thanks.